The latest Russia hoax revelations prove that the intelligence community could have used some oversight. That's why Mike Howell, the president of the Oversight Project, is shedding some light on what they do out there in the shadows. So, Mike, great to see you once again. So there have been so many headlines this week. The latest, though, is all with the Clinton Foundation. The FBI told their field offices, hey, you know what? Let's just stop looking into them. So what do you make of just the crazy week of headlines that we've seen that just goes to prove everything that we thought we knew all along?
Yeah, it's been just a flurry of different data points confirming what people, as you said, knew all along. And you can really see how multi-layered it was, and all of the people that were long suspected to have done what they've done are now in writing doing what they did. And so I think it's great that the Trump administration is making this all public. It puts it beyond the realm of debate. You know, for a while, the left wing and their commentators would try to muddy the waters, but we're seeing in plain writing and black and white all the efforts to stymie these things. And I know it gets complicated, but I would just try to say that the general sweep of the tactics here are whatever anything could have been done to hurt President Trump and his allies, the intelligence community and law enforcement bend itself into pretzels to pursue even the most frivolous things. And then, when confronted with clear and convincing sustained evidence against their political allies, they, in their own words, shut it down. And frankly, a lot of those people are still, at the working levels, maybe not the leadership, still proliferated throughout the intelligence community and law enforcement.
I mean, there's so many things to unpack from these stories, and it is going in the Wayback Machine a little bit, but I think it's really important that it all re-ups now for the American people to relive, because I think there's a lot more people paying attention and who have some understanding now, even though it is 10 years later, that the shenanigans went on here. I mean, a lot of people, right, not usually in the Blaze audience, right, maybe 10 years ago, now all of a sudden they realize, oh, wow, something went on here, and polling shows this among Democrats. A lot of them realized something went on here that was shady. So to take one of those things, post-2016 election, we know that Mike Rogers said no from the NSA. He at least had questions, right, about foisting this ridiculous narrative about Russian collusion upwards up the chain. And Washington Post ran a story saying Clapper and others want Obama to fire, NSA lead Mike Rogers. And you have to wonder, looking back, I mean, these guys were playing these games all along. He was the odd man out, right? Because he was somewhat honest internally about the situation, and they're probably trying to push him out. It's like this gang of a corrupt cabal, right, at the heart of the national security complex.
That's exactly right. And when you have the president of the United States in Obama basically asking the IC and his chief political appointees in those perches to rewrite the intelligence, you had some people saying either for patriotic reasons, no, we can't do that. That's not how this works, or for self-preservation reasons that it's just so obviously sloppy and will be figured out. We're not going to go along with it. And I don't know which camp everyone necessarily fits in, but Mike Rogers clearly was someone who wasn't willing to do it, and they wanted to get rid of him. And in their justification for trying to get rid of him, it's really laughable in the larger context, of they were claiming mishaps at his agency that related to CCP things. But then you zoom out for a second and think, hey, what happened with the CCP over the intelligence community in the last decade? Well, they were able to run absolutely roughshod, and the connective tissue from the highest end political appointees to the CCP is so obvious when you look back at it. You have President Obama, who one of the first things he did, and no one talks about this, Peter Schweitzer uncovered this, and he's a legend for it. Obama went to China and just went to a stadium and posed for photographs so he could cash a bunch of checks and, different levels of money for a picture with Obama, shaking his hand. Do you want it in a group? And he just cashed in, and he's a celebrity over there. And the same thing goes for Brennan and Clapper. They absolutely, and Comey and Ray for that matter, you had the Bidens who were clearly cheaply bought off by the CCP, funding their family, and you had the first family, to be compromised, and they did nothing despite it hitting every single flashing red light siren. And then for them to turn around and to claim that Mike Rogers was the one who was off the ball is so laughable in this when you look back at the grand sweep of history here.
I just want to zoom out, as you're saying, and look at the Republicans and how they deal with things versus how Democrats deal with things. Because you see Hillary Clinton here. Oh, the FBI field offices are like, nothing to see here, no charges, don't worry. And then we get, as Trump says, Russia, Russia, Russia. Everybody's going out there. And for a decade, we've been dealing with all of this. And only now we have the actual documents to prove that none of the things that they said happened were actually the way that they were. So when you look at this, how do we have a republic that is going to continue if this is the game that we play, if there is actually no accountability? Because we're still waiting for Pam Bondi AG to go through and start bringing charges, right? If that doesn't happen, how do we even move forward from here?
Well, you don't, is the short answer. And another more uncomfortable truth is we may not have it right now, or at least to the degree we would hope we do. I mean, that pops up over and over again. That's the autopen investigation. They ran a country without a president. And then you have these institutions of government acting way outside their place in the constitutional order. And so there's no doubt we were completely out of order with the way this country should work. When exactly that amounts to not having a constitutional republic is up for debate, but we certainly don't have a near perfect working version of it right now. And so while accountability is so desperately needed, and if President Trump and AG Bondi don't get it, that will be the story. That is the mandate that they put out there to achieve. And so they actually have to achieve it. But even further than just the individualized accountability, which is absolutely needed, there needs to be structural reform. You can't just play whack-a-mole. And people should understand that the guilt here is corporate. Of course, there are ringleaders of it, Obama at the top and others and Hillary, but it is a corporate guilt that should be worn by the entirety of the Democratic Party apparatus, to include the media, the donors, the intelligence functions, both inside and outside the government. And I think it's going to be incumbent on all of us to basically articulate that they have lost the trust permanently and shouldn't exist as a viable major American political party. And the sins are replete. And they're also gigantic that it's kind of, you get used to it. But at the end result, in the end of the day, and what history should reflect, is these people use the political machinery of the United States to gravely abuse the core structures of the United States government. And that's not something that goes away just when one person goes to jail. I think it means the Democratic Party shouldn't exist as a major American political party.
Yeah, I just want to glom onto that. I mean, two things, what you said, they're really important. One is the structural reform, because it drives me nuts how many people, right, even good people within the administration, they just don't think that way, and they think it's impossible to structurally reform these agencies. That absolutely needs to happen, otherwise we lose. And then two, I'm not saying that prosecuting people isn't essential and it won't destroy the movement if we don't, but I'm adding to that fact that you do ultimately try people in the court of public opinion. And so what you're saying is really important, because what we want is a majority coalition in America at the end of this that realizes what they did was shameful, Jill, and it should never happen again.
Yes, and we look at the unelected people and all the secrecy and all the deep state that's going on there in Washington, D.C. Representative Paulina Luna is getting in on some of the fun. I'm old enough to remember, Mike, that when we had COVID, they were out there going, hey, by the way, aliens, totally a thing. Let's go ahead and take a look at Representative Paulina Luna here.
I have seen photos. I have seen...
What have you seen photos of?
So I was in a skiff, and I can't discuss all that was in a skiff, but what I can tell you is based on the photos that I've seen, I'm very confident that there's things out there that have not been created by mankind.
It seems crazy that people have access to information that shows that there's something outside of us that is more intelligent, at least more capable than we are, and they hide it from everybody else.
All right, one of my least favorite arguments is just trust me, bro. Like, I've seen it. Don't worry. I was in the skiff. I can't tell you what's happening. But just trust me. We have aliens. It's fine, Mike. It's just another day here in the United States.
Yeah, I mean, they're not doing anyone favors just by kind of alluding to, limited hangouts here and there. And I think, one of the biggest failures of the government was allowing Area 51 to basically breed into, what it is today. I think limited disclosure of information could have gone a long way. And you create this space where anything can go and theories proliferate. But it's an absolutely legitimate concern. Very clearly, there are things happening that people cannot explain. And I'm not even sure the federal government or other governments can explain. And where you draw the line between something that's probably really advanced military kind of aircraft and training and science and whatnot versus just a decades-long series of these inexplicable events. And it's not just Luna, who's a congresswoman. Several presidents throughout history have reported, alien contact. I mean, it seems ridiculous to say, but Jimmy Carter did. Bill Clinton did. I mean, there's just too many data points there for them to go unanswered. But I'll tell you what we should have an answer on. And I thought about this after I saw Luna speaking out, is the first contact policy. I mean, there right now, the system is basically a Malaysian astrophysicist is in charge of, if aliens do make contact, she's the one the world puts out. And it's kind of, it got some traction like a decade ago. But I think President Trump should come very clear that if there is such a event to ever transpire, it is President Trump in America that maintains first contact. And I think that clarification would go a long way.
I don't know. I don't have any evidence, but I saw a lot of aliens in California. They were all standing by that manual labor, sort of place. There's a lot of legal aliens.
Yeah.
I haven't seen any of the evidence, but the evidence we do have is exactly what you say. And of course, you have to wonder, if this keeps on coming out, then why isn't it purposeful, right? Area 51 being a case in point. If you want to get rid of the rumors, you certainly could. The government hasn't done that. Then again, I guess, I don't know, Jill, about you, but I'm not taking my alien advice from Anna Paulina, much as I love her.
I look at this and I just say, man, I can get it. Why we were talking about this in COVID, like everybody was bored. There was nothing going on. Mike Howell, that's not the case right now. There is so much going on, and we always appreciate your insight helping us break it all down.
All right, thanks for having me on. The truth is out there.
The truth is out there. The aliens might be out there. We don't know. We'll have to wait and see.